I was doing a lot of set construction and design with a friend of mine, and we were using swimming noodles to make wood molding and things of that nature. And I said, wouldn't it be fun to do an entire show where all you made everything out of swimming noodles? And at the same time, my oldest daughter was kind of bugging me that we needed to do some Shakespeare because nobody else was. And so it sort of, the light bulb just kind of went off, and I said, oh, Shakespeare with noodles. Noodles are very bright, colorful, so kids are drawn to them. The kids love them. And as we go, we get more and more creative about what we can do with them. Yeah, we've become kind of experts on PVC, so if the whole theater thing doesn't work out, I could always go into plumbing. A lot of what we do is not actually things so much made out of noodles, but kind of adding noodles to stuff because they're really not as strong a material as you would think they would be. So, mainly like this will just be more decorating it with noodles than it's actually built from noodles. We use duct tape not just to hold noodles together, but we also use it as facial hair because that's one of the few things you won't sweat off. I also liked the swimming noodles because I thought they would be fairly kid-friendly. I mean, they're bright colored, which the kids like. And I thought maybe they wouldn't hurt each other, but we have discovered that, we have to really stabilize things. Like our swords are pretty, you can hurt each other with these. You've got to be, they have to be somewhat careful, which they forget, and they start whacking each other really hard and hurting each other, but we try not to. The noodles are reusable in many ways, like when the kids break a sword, then I can cut up the parts and reuse them again. So it's another way that this really worked to keep the program feasible because we can reuse a lot of the materials. My parents were actually involved in theater. They did the community theater, and so I can't even remember when my first production I ever attended was. I was probably 4, always going to shows. And Shakespeare, I think I saw my first Shakespeare show when I was 7. We saw Taming of the Shrew. And I started being on stage about the same age as 7. I was in The Miracle Worker. I was a blind girl, and I had like 3 lines. Kind of like my kids to the day when you start out 3 lines maybe.
We walk a foot a while and ease our legs. Stand! Jesus bless us.
Strike! Down with him!
I like working with kids. Mainly it's their creativity and their imagination. The older we get, the more inhibitions we develop, and kids, especially when they're little, just are almost fearless. They'll do anything, almost anything I ask, but a lot of times I don't have to ask much. A lot of what comes out on the stage are their ideas and what they like to do, and so I think that's, as we go along, I see kids that I worked with when they're younger, and a lot of times these great actors will suddenly get a little bit quiet and a little more reserved, especially the girls. But then usually they kind of come out of it about age 16, and they come back as the people that they kind of were when they went in. So yeah, that's why kids are involved.
Well, I got to meet new friends this year as well as other years. Plus, I have nothing else to do during the summer. It just keeps me motivated to do something.
My daughter saw an audition notice for this, and we brought her up to audition, and she was cast, and she had a really good time, and so she wanted to do it every year. And so this is her 5th season, but this is my first year being actually involved in the production, and Margaret asked me if I would be willing to play Falstaff this year because Falstaff is a great big gross fat man, and so she asked me to do it. And I hadn't done any stage acting for a while, but I didn't figure I would get a lot more opportunities to be on stage with my daughter. So that's what really made me want to do it, is Molly and I have most of our scenes together. So we're having a really good time.
Shakespeare has a lot of violence in it, and I think that's what appeals to the kids.
It's really fun. Well, my favorite part about it is the swords. And so farewell. Good night, my noble lord.
We have a lot more boys who get interested in our program than we do girls, because they like all the fighting and war aspects of it.
I really like what Margaret does. I've been a faithful audience member for all these years, and I was just really amazed at what she's able to do, not only with the noodles as props, because she made the Macbeth cauldron out of noodles. She makes horses out of noodles. She makes swords and daggers and you name it out of noodles. But also what she's able to get the kids to do. The fact that she gets kids to memorize and perform Shakespeare is just, I think, phenomenal.
I think it's hilarious. It's interesting to see how many different ways you can use swimming noodles for purposes other than swimming. It's really interesting to see the kids too. Several of them have come back this year from other years, the performances we've had, and they're definitely different people. Yeah, it's nice to see kids grow, I guess.
I like acting, and I think that's what I want to be when I grow up. This would be my second year. I play the Earl of Douglas. Well, I don't know. I'm a bad guy in the beginning, but then I turn to the good side. And you don't really tell in the play why I turn good. But I think it's just really cool that I turn to the good side. And like how I kind of show it in the play. When they say boo, I say yay. I just think it's really cool.
I've always liked acting, but never really could do much at high school, so I mostly just did stuff with Margaret. So I tried as I could, but the best I could get in high school was like chorus and walk-ons. So Margaret does a little better at giving people what they need and roles they can handle. So.
And I just got hooked on Margaret's personality and the way that she ran things. Everything was just so much fun, and it's one of those things that you want to do over and over again.
She's an excellent director and costume provider.
We've rehearsed, in actual theaters. We've rehearsed in churches, in schools, and it seems like we always were in trouble, for something, because the kids would break something, or I got in trouble once because a kid didn't flush the toilet. So, we're at the park. They can't really hurt anything except each other, which we try and keep it to a minimum.
Jaden, put the stick down.
I turned around one day at rehearsal, and one of the little boys was peeing on a tree. And I was like, oh, we do have facilities for that. Would you go inside? Oh, yeah. They're a challenge. They're a challenge. But they're so darn cute.
Am I king?
So while you two are talking, you're doing this.
Are you king?
Yeah.
No, sorry, you're not. But who wants to be king? It's actually her uncle is who they're trying to make king on your side. He wants to take the throne and become king. But you're like a pretty important noble. All right, so
I'll make it greater.
you're like you'd be kind of like a general, So you would be like, but you're not like.
I'm not like
the
king. I'm
yes.
I'm like a the boss bad guy, and like his best servant.
Yeah. So you're like, but you have people beneath you though. So you have people who still serve you. So you're not like low man on the totem pole. All right, so when are we killing her? Okay, Hayden.
Margaret always provides snacks for the cast, and we try to take a break about halfway through with rehearsal, and we'll have cookies and something to drink, and the amount of time that passes before they start asking for cookies gets kind of shorter and shorter as we go. Now, sometimes we've not been rehearsing for 15 or 20 minutes, and they're asking when are the cookies coming out, and this time they've started to complain about the cookies because she's not been providing different cookies, and they said, we had these last week, can't you find something different? So cookies.
I've always had a pretty high threshold for kid chaos. I have a less high tolerance for adults' misbehavior. I don't know, but kids, especially a lot of kids who are drawn to theater, are kids who have gotten in trouble so many times for the things that then a program like ours encourages. You know, they're always being told to be quiet and sit down, and our program encourages them to be loud and to get up, and that's just something I think theater offers kids like that. My thing was talking. I remember my second grade year, I never sat in the same desk 2 days in a row. I was perpetually in trouble for being loud and, you know, not paying attention to what they were paying attention to. So I like to think it isn't so much attention deficit. They're paying attention. They're just paying attention to what they want to pay attention to and not what some adult has told them we want you to pay attention to. I know that the little ones try the patience of the big ones, but I like to remind the big ones then too, like, that was you, like 4 years ago. Kids are the important ingredient, because you know, anything you do with kids is difficult and it's time consuming, but it's ultimately rewarding.
They like to come on stage and do their line, and then they like to go down to the creek and catch frogs, and sometimes we like to keep them closer by.
So I get a lot of hugs, and I do sometimes occasionally wear children. I think of them as jewelry. I don't think I could work with kids and not be allowed to, in a way, mother them. Some of these kids, you know, they know words that most adults don't even know.
Fight with them tonight! You give them the advantage! Good cousins, the advice? Go nuts tonight.
You gain confidence because you're up in front of people, so you get used to speaking.
Well, it kind of got rid of my stage fright that I used to have all the time. So that's kind of helped me.
We do have a few kids whose parents are teachers in the public schools in high school, and they notice a difference. And if they have kids who've been through the program in their class, when they read aloud, they're like, I always call on so-and-so because I know they're not going to struggle with the language. They can make it sound the way it should sound as opposed to, you know, choppy getting through it.
Like Shakespeare, I know it better, so when I have it in English class, I'm doing way better than most of the other kids because I already know it. When you're in English class and she's like, did you know this about Shakespeare? I can be like, yes, I did.
I could quit all offenses with that clear excuse. For within my youth hath faulty wandered.
It's great just to learn, like a lot of these books we read in school, but it's a whole different level of understanding to actually get to act it out rather than just, you know, sit in the classroom and read it. To get to act it out and see all the different characters played by different people that you know, to be in costume, it just really helps understand it.
And then we do have some kids who really struggle with that. They're not all born actors. They're not all born readers. I know some of them are in summer school studying reading right now, but you know, we go through with them. They sit down with whoever is tutoring them once a week, and we read through it, and we talk about what's happening, and they get up there and they do their thing.
I think it's important for people to remember that Shakespeare is and can be fun.
Give them pie! Give them pie! Give them pie!
Free steaks!
But to do it this way, I think is just amazing, and the Noodles just make it really colorful and kind of cartoon-like, and I think Shakespeare is timeless, and I think that the kids that do it are going to develop a love of Shakespeare, and who knows where that will take them.